President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met with his French counterpart Emmanuel Macron on a lunch banquet the French president has held and el-Sisi's honor at the Élysée Palace in Paris on Thursday. Presidential spokesman Councillor Ahmed Fahmy said that President Macron welcomed President al-Sisi and expressed his country's appreciation for Egypt. Macron also expressed appreciation for the deep relations binding Egypt and France, especially on the economic level. The French leader stressed his country's keenness on continuing consultations and coordination with Egypt as one of its key regional partners, hailing Egypt's pivotal role in maintaining peace and stability in the Middle East region. For his part, the president hailed the remarkable growth in bilateral relations between Egypt and France at all levels, stressing his keenness on continuing the political coordination and exchanging views with France in various international and regional issues of mutual concern. The meeting tackled means of boosting the bilateral relations as well as regional and international issues, including Russian-Ukrainian crisis and its impacts on the food and energy world markets. And President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi on Thursday addressed Roundtable 2 and UA Green Growth Partnerships with his participation in the EU Global Financing Pact Summit in Paris. President al-Sisi said that developing countries were the most being impacted by climate change repercussions during the past years. The president reiterated that sustainable development goals should be achieved according to each country's priorities within a scheduled plan. He stressed that green growth is not a substitute for sustainable development, but rather a catalyst, adding that African countries are most affected by climate change. The head of state noted that funding is essential to solve the problem of climate change, addressing the significance of working on the transformation to achieve green growth. President al-Sisi revealed development banks' policies should be developed to maximize their capabilities, stressing that decisions must be taken rapidly to prevent a major debt crisis. The president said Egypt aims at translating ambitions and commitments that are related to the climate, adding that it set an ambitious program for transforming the new clean energy resources. He pointed out that Egypt has a growth vision which is based on providing job opportunities and decent living conditions to citizens, noting that the state prepared a debt management plan for sustainable development. President al-Sisi met on Thursday with the President of the European Council, Charles Michel, on the sidelines of New Financing Compact Paris Summit. The president or the presidential spokesman Ahmed Fahmy said President al-Sisi welcomed continuation of communication with the Council and hailed Egyptian-European relations. The president also expressed his keen interest in developing bilateral relations and enhancing the cooperation between the two sides, taking into account partnership in the Mediterranean regional neighborhood and importance of coordination in addressing current challenges. For his part, the President of the European Council hailed consultation with President al-Sisi, standing on Egypt's stances towards the discussed issues in light of Egypt's strategic partnership with the EU. He also reiterated the Union's keenness on boosting cooperation with Egypt on various levels. Fahmy also added the meeting tackled fostering ties between the two sides within the framework the priorities of Egyptian-European partnership or participation until 2027, which represents a vital path for further deepening the joint partnership during the coming years in various domains. President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi met Tunisian President Kais Saied on the sidelines of the Summit for New Global Financing Pact in Paris on Thursday. Presidential spokesperson Ahmed Fahmy said President al-Sisi hailed the fraternal bilateral relations between Egypt and Tunisia, stressing Egypt's support for Tunisia during the current circumstances and stressed Egypt's keenness to continue cooperation with Tunisia on various levels. For his part, Tunisian President affirmed his country's appreciation of the close ties and relations with Egypt. He also hailed Egypt's achievements on the economic and social levels, in addition to its political strength on regional and international levels. And French President Emmanuel Macron opened the Climate Finance Summit on Thursday by saying changes were needed to the global lending system to ensure that low-income countries shouldn't have choose between fighting climate change and poverty. Macron is hosting the meeting with Barbados Prime Minister Mia Mottley, who has become a leading advocate for reimagining the role of the World Bank and International Monetary Fund in an era of climate crisis. Here is the story.
The leaders of France and Barbados joined forces on Thursday to push for an overhaul of the international financial system at Paris Summit, which was aimed at tackling poverty and climate change. French President Emmanuel Macron, who is hosting the two-day conference in Paris, invited Barbadian Prime Minister Mia Mottley to co-headline the event, which seeks to improve the lending system for developing countries mired in poverty and threatened by planet heating emissions. In his opening remarks, Macron told delegates that the world needs a public finance shock to fight these challenges, adding that the current system was not well suited to address global challenges. The French leader noted that fighting poverty had become a top priority for the Paris summit, adding that environmental challenges were mounting globally. UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres said more than 50 nations were now in or near debt default, while many African countries are spending more on debt repayments than on healthcare. The UN chief said tens of millions of citizens of the world face poverty as the international financial system is currently experiencing a major crisis, and that the global financial system had failed to provide a safety net for developing countries. Meanwhile, IMF Director Kristalina Georgieva announced that a key pledge to rehandle $100 billion of liquidity boosting special drawing rights into a climate and poverty fund have been met. In remarks to a panel, World Bank Chief Ajay Banga announced a raft of measures to aid countries hit by natural disasters, including a pause in debt repayments to the lender. U.S. Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen said multilateral development institutions should become more effective in the way that they use their funds before more capital was added.
Minister of Defense and Military Production Mohammed Zaki attended the graduation ceremony of new batches from Nasser Military Academy and College of Command and Staff. A documentary film was displayed at the beginning of the celebration on the Academy's training programs, which were held during the current academic year for the qualification of a number of civilians and military leaders in the political, economic, strategic, and national security fields. Nasser Academy Chief Ashraf Faris addressed the ceremony, which he stressed the armed forces' keenness on providing continuous support and close follow-up on the Academy's activities and developing the educational process for its students. Meanwhile, the Defense Minister honored the top students and granted certificates for the distinguished ones. And the fourth session of the National Dialogue Community Access kicked off on Thursday at the conference hall in Nasr City. The Committee of Families Issues discussed along 2 sessions the reasons of domestic violence and means of facing it, as well as the electronic risks. Meanwhile, the Committee of the Culture and National Identity will tackle means of expanding the benefits of cultural institutions in Egypt. Earlier, the third session of the National Dialogue had focused on boosting youth empowerment and entrepreneurship leadership.